Whoa! So, surprise Sandbox update coming to Destiny. In this video, I'll go over the patch notes and changes coming to class balance, aka Hunters are getting some changes. Don't worry though, other classes are getting some love as well. If you want to read Bungie's reasoning for these, I suggest looking at the actual patch notes as they go pretty in-depth into their explanations. First up for Hunter changes, grenades. Swarm Grenade is getting a 7% damage buff and a 0.5 meter arming radius, which is good because this grenade sees pretty much zero play. Trip Mine will also no longer attach to enemies and the damage will be reduced by 3%. Golden Gun base damage will be increased by 50% and an additional 30% against PvE mobs. Deadeye now increases Golden Gun damage by an additional 30%. I hope it still keeps its accuracy bonus as Golden Gun feels a little bit inaccurate at times in PvP, and I really like using that perk for that reason. Otherwise, I'm happy that Golden Gun will finally be more viable in PvE due to these damage bumps. Throwing Knife base damage will be reduced by 10%. Circle of Life will now make precision kills with throwing knives reduce the cooldown of Golden Gun. Circle of Life will no longer extend the duration of Golden Gun or have +1 armor. I'm a little bit confused on the Throwing Knife damage reduction because they say it's because Incendiary Blade is a little bit too strong in PvP, so why not just reduce the burn damage in PvP on that perk? Anyway, moving on, Scavenger increases the amount of grenades and melee energy awarded by 33%. Chain of Woe has +1 recovery added, and Over the Horizon has +1 recovery removed. Alright, next up are some Bladedancer changes. Mobility felt a little bit too strong on them according to Bungie, so Blink now causes you to lose 1 on your recovery stat if you pick it, and Blink Strike lunge distance has been decreased by 0.4 meters. In addition, Blink Strike backstab angles have been reduced by 30 degrees to hopefully stop people from getting one shot in the front. Escape Artist invisibility effect delayed by 0.5 seconds and fast twitch recharge reduced by 20%. Interesting changes there. Bladedancers overall in PvP don't feel as strong as some of the other classes. Bladedancer Super has also been increased by 2 seconds, hit search range increased by 0.5 meters, and they added a 0.8 second cooldown between arc blade swings while airborne to keep you from dashing around everywhere. Energy cost per swing has been increased by 20%, but energy cost on hit decreased by 20%. So pretty much they want you to be very precise with your hits and not use your blade to be really mobile. Fortunately, arc blade damage is getting a 30% increase to PvE enemies. Vanish will also now cause you to vanish right when you cast it instead of at the end. Showstopper is also getting its radius increased by 1 meter. Finally, Encore kills on an enemy with Arc Blade now extend its duration and gives a 150% increase to Arc Blade damage for a short time. That right there is huge. So Arc Blade subclass is getting some questionable mobility nerfs, but it looks like they'll finally be better off in PvE with their super at least. And now finally, the Nightstalker changes. First up is the Spike Grenade. They are reducing the pulses from 10 to 5 per second, but increasing the damage by 100% per impulse. So the damage will be the same, but over a much shorter period of time. This should make the grenade get a little bit more use. Maybe. Shadow Shot will now apply the suppression effect on impact. This has been one of the most requested changes added to Shadow Shot. I'm glad to see it finally there. Smoke Grenade is getting its impact damage increased by 34%. Impact suppression and damage over time reduced by 1 second. And you can now jump when afflicted by a smoke grenade. So now it looks like they want you to directly hit someone with a smoke bomb. Players will still be able to escape it though, as they are no longer sitting helpless and unable to jump inside the smoke. Great change that should remove a lot of the frustrations fighting a Nightstalker. Some other perks are also getting some changes. Courage of the Pack now increases recovery, armor, and agility by 2 per stack and stacks 3 times. Lockdown increases the smoke duration by 2 seconds. The biggest change though is that Shade Step has been reduced to a single dodge on a 3-second cooldown. So no more spamming Shade Step as a crutch. You have to plan your Shade Steps out a little bit more. So overall, Hunters are getting some good tweaks. Nightstalkers should be a little bit less frustrating to fight in PvE, and they will still remain as the most viable PvE class for Hunters. Gunslinger Supers now get some great damage bumps finally, and so did Bladedancers. Alright, so other classes are getting some changes as well. Defender Spike Grenades are getting the same changes as the Nightstalkers are. Twilight Garrison is also getting its dodge reduced to 1 charge on a 3-second cooldown, just like Shade Step. The supers across the board are getting buffed. Hammer of Soul and Storm Trance are getting a 10% increase. Fist of Havoc and Nova Bomb are getting base damage increases by 50% and an additional 50% against PvE enemies. Hell yeah. Now, Sunsingers. Firebolts are getting an increase to their arming time by 0.2 seconds. They're also decreasing the search radius by 1 meter, so now you will have time and a chance to actually dodge the grenade. In addition, Viking Funeral is getting reworked. It no longer extends the duration of ignite effects. It will now weaken targets afflicted with ignite effects, causing them to take 5% more damage from all sources, stacking up to 3 times. This is a fantastic change as it makes Sunsingers way more viable for PvE, while allowing their burns to still demand a disengage in PvP. Only this time in PvP, you don't die from the burn itself. You die if you don't disengage fast enough and die to the increased damage that you're taking. I can't wait to play around with a Sunsinger in PvE now, as that ignite damage will really help group play in the same way a Nightstalker super does. They also added a 0.3 second delay to the activation of Flame Shield. This was done to make it possible to maybe win a one-on-one melee fight with a Sunsinger. Be sure to tune into the podcast this week, guys, as we will have had time to experience all these changes, and we can go way more in depth there. I hope you all found this video helpful. This has been Patrick Casey with Planet Destiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.